Coach Caralla, welcome to the show, brother. So excited to talk to you today, and thank you for making the time in your schedule.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. You know I've been a fan of yours for a little while now because I tag you on a lot of Instagram posts, and I'm going to tell you how you got me um, as a guy. So I'm a Texas-born, football-bred, grew up with a mouthpiece in kind of guy, and I heard your video where you talk about lazy people do little work and think they should be winning, but winners work as hard as possible and still worry about being lazy. And I was like, this is my guy. Like I'm 50 years old this year. I got 1 year eligibility left. And if you're looking for a 50-year-old guy, I'll come out, coach. I'll move to Charlotte. I'll do what I need to do. I'll walk on. But you're the kind of guy that I would play for. And it just got me so fired up. So I have to get this guy on the show. And I just want to learn more about you.
No, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that video went pretty viral. It's still going every day. I think I get tagged in it. It was our first workout at Georgia Tech when I got there, and I just felt like that was a very important message that I believe in, and it's true. I mean, it's the truth. Like, there's the reason people gravitate towards that message, in my opinion. They're tired of people expecting and expecting and expecting without doing anything to earn it, and they think it's supposed to happen that way. And for some people, it might, but those people aren't built to win. And I really believe that the real winners, like, I'm not talking about a scoreboard. I'm talking about, like, the ability to impact other people, the ability to be a good dude for your family. Like, that's like being a winner. And those people, they're never not paranoid about their own potential. They're
I
always going to
couldn't
find a way.
couldn't agree more. I mean, I think it resonated obviously in the football sense, I think it's powerful, but I think if you look at it from a life perspective, it's really how the most successful people in life are looking at life day to day. Am I being a good husband? Am I being a good father? Am I being a good employee or boss or whatever it is? It's like there's a lack of, like you said, there's an anticipation that you should be given things, especially in the modern world that we live in. And so there's a refreshing nature to that message of, hey, listen, like winners work. Like you got to work to be a winner. Have you always been? Have you always? I keep thinking about like, how did you get here? Like, have you always been like this? Like, were you this kind of player? Were you this as a youngster? Or I read a lot of articles about you, and you consistently talk about mentors and people that you looked up to and people you learned from. How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, no, I was not like this as a kid. I mean, I was always playing sports my whole life. I loved it. I always was staying busy in that stuff, but I wasn't the greatest kid. I wasn't like a go-getter, do all this extra work when I was younger. But when I got to college, I kind of got away from home and a lot of other things that were distracting, and I got focused and I figured out what I wanted to do with my life. And then it got narrow. Then it got really, okay, if I want this to work, this is what I have to do. And then if they're not doing it, I'm doing double. Like that was kind of the shift I had in college. And then, yeah, mentors. I mean, they were the blueprint for me to carry this thing on, in my opinion. Like, I had three of the best mentors I could have ever asked for, and they still guide me. They're still my North Star every time I get lost. And um, I'm just really thankful for a lot of people, especially my wife and my parents, that just kept me going through this. I mean, it's been a rough journey. I'm not going to lie. It's been hasn't been all rosy, but no, I got a lot of pain in my heart to share with others that can help people. And
Yeah.
that's been the goal ever since.
Well, doing what you do, being a college football coach, a strength and conditioning coach, I watched one of your videos and you talked about how, everybody would love that multi-year contract, right? Like that multi-year deal, but nobody wants to work on the daily contract of like, what am I going to do today to get better? And when I heard you talk about that, I thought about your job specifically, and it's purely tied to success, right? If you're in it with a program that goes, oh, and whatever every single year, you're going to constantly be having to look for a new job. And so you really are on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, season-to-season contract. And you can tell like you've got that kind of enthusiasm. I read something about you, and you said after every workout you guys do in the strength and conditioning setting, you try to give the guys some kind of message. You try to leave them with something. Is that something you've done since the beginning, or is that something you picked up along the way because you know that last thing you say is maybe the thing they're going to remember for the rest of that day?
Yeah, so every time, like, I was an assistant in Michigan for 3 years, and I was trying to, really plan on being a head guy one day. And I would take notes, and a big hobby of mine ended up being coming up with my own quotes, and just like drop down menus on common words like leadership, toughness, accountability, effort. And I would just think of different quotes that have maybe never been said before that people might relate to. And that kind of got the ball rolling, because then I got a head job in 2015 at North Texas. And then I wrote the lift, I had everything planned. And then on the last template on the bottom was a message of the day. So it's just part of who I've always been since I've been a head strength coach. And then, when cameras got involved, then other people found out.
Yeah, I gotta believe that I mean, listen, I'm an old school, I'm an old guy, but I gotta believe that those messages matter. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, because there's so much distraction, especially in the world today. Like when we were growing up, there wasn't that much. Like there wasn't social media. My coach was my like, almost like a family member. My coach could tell me to do anything, and I'm going to do it. I don't know that that's the same way today. So I think you've got to find unique ways to get, especially young men, to pay attention because there is so much distraction. So I got to believe that those messages really hit home for those guys and keep them bought in as part of a team.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like, I these messages, they're like, which is now a book. It's they're all different because every day is different. Like, I don't have, the cookie cutter rehearsed message for these guys. Like, if I feel something that day, I'm changing the message. And like I might have like wrote down some key words to have that message, but I also don't feel worthy to speak to these kids if I'm not doing what they're doing. Like, if I'm not doing their workouts before they get here, and then maybe fighting through that toughest part, or like, I'm not going to coach it with much passion. I'm not going to really know when they're about to hit the wall, so I can't be the best that they need. And at the end, I just feel like one of them, like a teammate almost, getting to speak to them about life, about a mistake I made, about a regret I have, about today's workout with the purpose of it, or it's all heartfelt.
I think that's one of the things I admire about you. I can tell that when you're talking, it's not scripted. It's not some kind of like BS that you've conjured up that like, you're trying to be, Instagram famous. Like this is a message that you're really hit home for you. And I also love the fact that you can tell that you're living the same life you're talking about. And so there's congruency there. And I think that the men probably see that and are like, listen, coach isn't full of it. Like he's doing the things that he's asking us to do. So I can't believe, I'm assuming you get big buy-in. I'm assuming that players love to be around you, love to play for you, do what you ask them to do. Has that always been the case, or have you had to evolve as, I think what you were a graduate assistant in 2009, right? So that's obviously, there's been a transition from 09 to 2024. Like, how have you evolved through all of that?
So yeah, I mean, I felt like once I saw my mentors run the room, and how it was managed, and how they got buy-in, I felt like that got me bought in, and that made me want to keep going until I possibly got a chance one day. And when I did get a first head job, I had all these dreams and visions of like doing it the right way, and everything that I planned was going to go to work. And yeah, I did everything I wanted to, and it was going great. But there were a few guys that, didn't buy in, and they weren't all about it, and they didn't like the excitement, and they didn't think they had to work as hard as others because they were still going to play. And that messed me up at first. I wasn't like prepared for that. I didn't
Yeah.
know how to handle that at first. So I'm like, how can you not appreciate what we're doing right now? Like, that didn't make sense to me. So I didn't handle that right, and I took it personal. And looking back now, I've been in that same situation multiple times and handled it much better, and ended up getting that kid to buy in even more than everyone else. So I've learned a lot. I've made mistakes. I've learned a lot. I've made mistakes. And now I feel like I have a pretty good idea of what's going to make them excited and what's going to keep me fired up to keep them excited too.
I think this is a great lesson because I think whether you're a coach or a teacher or a parent or a business owner, that everybody's leading somebody, right? Even there's players that are leading other players. There's employees that are leading other employees. So when you see that and you've got a couple of guys that you're like, hey, I don't think these two guys are really bought in like everybody else. Do you now kind of have like a systematic approach? Like, can you give the listeners like an idea? Because I think you can implement this into a parenting model, a teaching model, a business model. Like, what do you do now that you didn't used to do? Because I'm like you, I would take it personally. I'd be like, are you guys insane? Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah. So first year when I was the head guy, like I remember I set the lift schedule for the summer in the locker room for the guys to look at, like what groups they were going to be in. And when I was taping it up on the wall, one of the players that, I had problems with in the past, he was like, 2 o'clock in the summer, I'm not going to be at that lift, coach. I go, yeah, you are. And he's like, no, I'm going to be at the pool. I'm like, do you understand? Like, if I was your age, I would beat the living hell out of you right now. Like, you understand that, right? Just so we're on the same page. And now, like, back then, I obviously didn't do that, but it got close. Now, if a kid were to say that to me, I'd be like, no problem. Go take it up with your position coach. And that's the only times we could get to work. So it's not personal, buddy. I
Yeah,
would
so,
have walked away.
so you've kind of grown, and in your growth, that's changed the delivery of how you're handling the situation.
Right. And then also, like, ways that you kind of diffuse all that stuff is the one-on-one meetings before any of it happens. Like, the interview is so crucial to these kids about just talking to them about how they're even here, the lifestyle that they have, the biggest obstacles they've overcome, the most important people in their life. Just all this kind of stuff you can find out before you get going has helped me a lot. But it's not always perfect.
I'm assuming all of these experiences or where the book came from is why you decided, hey, I'm going to start putting these things on paper so that people who I don't even get the opportunity to see face to face can actually get, these messages. And that's kind of the book's called Firelighters 365. So was it always going to be a book, or did you just wake up one day and you're like, hey, like this would be something really cool for people that I don't get to touch, one to one?
Yeah. So I started writing in like 2015. I was going to call it the No Talent Code. And I had different chapters of beliefs I had of things that take no talent to be great at. And that was my whole, like, I was going with that one. And then as I got closer to like my Georgia Tech years, I started realizing like all these messages I'm giving every day, they can help so many different people daily, and I don't have to make it a chapter book. I can just have a one a day powerful message for people. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it that way. And then I started taking concepts out of that book that I already was halfway written and just segmenting them into days. And then I got really organized and just I had doubts. I had things that I didn't push it out early enough. I didn't know if I wanted to. It might be a distraction, and I'm like, you know what, this needs to be out there. If I was a coach, I would want to have this book.
Yeah. I've written 2 books and I can relate to all those feelings. It's like, you're some parts you're like, who am I to be writing this book? Right. And and then you eventually get to the place where you're like, listen, you're probably a lot like me. I was like, if this just helps one person, like in any walk of life, like it's worth me putting the information out there to the world. So I love that you did that, because I think it's the collection of information that you've got access to, that you've over the years, is so vast. I mean, I look at you as almost like an old school coach in a modern era. Like, I don't know, would you describe yourself as that, or how would you
Yeah,
position yourself?
I think that's an accurate statement. Like, I don't believe in all the gadgets. I don't believe in that you need all this cute stuff. I believe you need your teammates. And I believe there's a lot of ways to make you guys feel the same adverse situations that you're going to have to go through in the game together through training. Like I don't want to do this job if a janitor can come in, hand you the same card, and you get just as strong because you just followed the script. Like, that's
Right.
not why I'm here. I'm here to create a culture and buy-in for people that come from every background that really end up loving each other in the end and want to take the field with each other.
How is that? How's the process for that? Because you hear about the locker room on a football team is one of the most important things, that there is. It's like, we'll equate that to the break room at the office, or maybe the kitchen table at the home. But if there's not a unison, or everybody bought in on the same page, that's where the challenges come in. Has it gotten tougher to get buy-in and create team unity, or is that really coach dependent on how you and the other staff members are setting everything up?
I don't think it's hurt buy-in at all. If anything, it's become more scary for players now because they can get cut at any point. Like they can be told to hit the portal tomorrow.
Okay.
If they're not, that's the threat now. So kids know, like, also, like, yes, they can leave, but they got to be careful with that because they don't know what they're going to get with that. So everything's kind of almost balanced out with, yeah, the focus has shifted, but the buy-in in the weight room for me has never changed. It's always been exciting, competitive, hard, tough, fun. And now I do believe, though, like the money thing and the deals that these kids are getting, and that hasn't shown itself to me very much yet. But at the same time, I do believe it takes away from the pride of losing and winning. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't mean as much. Like if they're getting paid, because it's like, all right, I'm getting mine. It's going to be all right.
Yeah.
Instead of
Yeah.
like, this is the end of the world to me, and I'm going to like die tomorrow because we just lost to that team.
Absolutely. 100%. I think as a fan now, when you watch the game, I don't know if it's like implied, or you kind of see that in certain teams in certain areas. And you've had the opportunity to be in a lot of really great programs from, Mississippi State, Georgia Tech, Michigan, Virginia, North Texas, all of those. Has it been the same, or is every place you've gone, like, is the culture need to be recreated? Like when you bring like, I'm assuming that, like, you bring a higher level of intensity than maybe other strength and conditioning coaches or position coaches or whatever. Is that always accepted right off the bat, or do you have to get the buy-in from a personal level as well?
It's different everywhere. It has its challenges everywhere more than others because, like, I've had now 5 head jobs, and for 5 different head coaches, and some years it's year 1, some years it's year 5, and I'm the new guy. So you got to be smart with how you deliver what you want to get across. And I just believe no matter what the approach is, it has to be about them. It has to be about the players. The Why would they care that you're there? What can they be excited about? What are you giving them to look forward to? And then move forward. Because and I always say to the guys, like, you please, like, don't trust me. You guys should not trust me. I mean, I'm strength coach number 2 or 3 for some of you, and just give me an opportunity to earn your trust, and give me a chance to interview all of you, and give me a chance to show you I'm not going to change any day, and I'm going to be the same person for you, rain, sleet, or shine, and just give me a chance to really get you to buy in.
I don't
And
know that I don't know that everybody understands what it is that you get the opportunity to do with the kids. Like, I may be wrong here, but I believe your title is the only coach per se that has access to these kids 24/7, right? Like, it more than like the head coach or position coaches, because of the strength and conditioning programs. So you're with these guys even more than their position coaches are, for the lineage of a whole year. Is that
correct.
is that yeah?
Yeah, and I have a relationship with every kid on the team. Like,
That's what I mean. Yeah.
you got coach now, coordinators got half this team.
Right.
Special teams guys got like 70% of the team, but you're dealing with the whole team every day, and
Yeah.
it's a challenge. I mean, there's, especially when the depth chart gets put out,
Right.
you got 60 kids that aren't happy,
Right.
or 70, and then where do they come? They come to you because they trust your opinion, and they know they have an ear to listen to. And like, I love that part. I think that's a great part to have if you're a strength coach, because I think I've used my psychology fake degree the last year more than ever,
Yeah.
of kids that, transferring, and a whole bunch of things are going through their mind, pressure from home, girlfriends. I mean, there's so much in their life beyond football that they need guidance with.
I talk about human psychology all the time. It's really what this show is kind of predicated on, is the importance of your mindset, your, you know, it moves everything forward. And I would assume that those kids, the 60 that aren't where they want to be, you know, sometimes like you're the most important person in their life at that stage, because it's really going to be pivotal and transitional of, you know, do I want to move up to that first level, or am I just going to sulk, be upset, and stay where I am? Because then they've really got an opportunity. If you look at adversity as opportunity or challenge as an opportunity, which I do, I think some of those kids might come to you and say, okay, coach, like I didn't get what I wanted. What are we going to do about it? Like, you know, I'm here to get you to help me get to that next level. I'm assuming there's got to be a sense for you that gets you fired up about those guys.
Well, it's absolutely, and that's why I'm really glad I played. You know, like that's a big reason why, um, you know, playing the game that you're coaching, that's where it comes in if you choose to use it. Because like there was times in college where I was like, God, man, this is crazy. Like I can't believe this. You know, like this isn't fair. These were all my thoughts, and I ended up saying I say to every kid, I'm like, have you made it awkward yet for our coaches to not play you?
Yeah.
Like, have you made it to the point where like they can't ignore you on film every night when you guys are watching it? Like they have to lie to themselves because it's not because of your effort, it's not because of the plays you're making. So what is it? That gives you peace at night knowing you can't do anything more. So if it is a
That's a good
personal
message.
vendetta, if it's a personal vendetta, that's what it is. But at least you'll know you can't possibly do more.
Right. I love that. How's that received? I mean, I'm assuming from a kid that isn't doing what he knows he should be, but is ready to do that. That might be the kick in the butt that they need to get to that next level. How many times? I mean, it's probably been hundreds, but do you see that happen a lot? Like when you have that talk with them and then they start to transition into a different human?
Some kids break through and make it. Some kids don't. You know,
Yeah.
some kids fade, but in that moment, they completely understand and they're determined. So that I think that's the point. Then you just try to remind them of that in a different way the next week.
You talk a lot about adversity being a gift, and that's one of my philosophies as well. I believe that wholeheartedly. How did you? Was it through experience that you came up with that? Because a lot of people look at adversity as like it's the worst thing on the planet, like my life is over, or you know, all of the stuff that you hear. And then they also feel like because of the adversity, like they're being set back in life and it's unfair and all those things. How have you moved to the other side of that, you know, to the coin of like adversity is an opportunity?
Yeah, and I still work through that. I'm not perfect at it either. A lot of different adversities for everyone. You know, like if it's not this, it's that. If it's not this, it's that. So getting fired's hard. It's not fair. They have no reason to let you go. Your results were great. The kids were healthy. They were tough. They liked each other. The buy-in was amazing, but you didn't win games, so you're attached to that coach. See ya. All right, and that's like painful to tell your kids that and family, and they have friends, and it's brutal.
Yeah.
How do you deal with it? You pray to God, and you did it right. You couldn't have done more. I wouldn't have changed the thing, and hopefully you get to put all this anger into positivity to the next job, and that's what I've tried to do everywhere I've been.
I think there's something special about, you know, coaching your position, because you mentioned the attachment. You know, a lot of times when the head guy goes, the whole staff is gone. Very rarely do they keep everybody else just a new head coach rolls in, if ever. So you've got to know that even if this is a tough place to be, and I want you to talk about this, how you mentally prepare for this, because like you said, you can do everything right. You can get the kids where they need to be. You can have a total buy-in, healthiest program it's ever been. But if the head guy goes, your chain is attached to them, that's got to be tough. Like that's got to be hard to, and the resiliency that you talk about, your resiliency has had to have fortified itself over the years. How did you get to the place of knowing that like I could do everything I'm supposed to do and it's not personal, but I'm going to have to go look for a new job, tell my wife and kids, hey, we're moving to wherever it might be.
Yeah.
Quick moment to talk about the sponsor of this episode. It is very dear and near and close to my heart because it is Lori's company, Spa Star. If you ever had the opportunity to watch someone create something from a thought or a vision and make this magical thing actually come to life, well, then you'll know why I'm so extremely proud of her and why I'm so excited to have her sponsoring the Thrive Forever Fit show. If you've listened to my podcast, then you probably heard her on episode 259. If you haven't heard that, I would go listen to episode 259 as soon as you finish this episode. She talks about the story of how she created it, the adversity she overcame, the challenges that she worked through, and just the inspirational story that I know you're absolutely going to love. But what Spa Star is a luxury wrap. And it was created as a spa wrap for people who were getting beauty treatments. But what we found out is it is a piece for everyday life. People are wearing it as swimsuit cover-ups, resort wear, just to get ready in the mornings or for that special event. It is the most unique piece. And I've actually worn this thing several times. I was the actual first model for this. Maybe I'll show you guys some photos of that, Fred, when the time is right. But it is such a cool creation called the Get Ready Wrap by Spa Star. And because you're a listener, you get 15% off today because you support me. So just go to spastar.net, spastar.net, the word spa, the word star.net. And at the checkout, enter Thrive15, THRIVE 15, and you're going to get 15% off of your Get Ready wrap. So many of my clients already have these and absolutely love them. We're selling them all over the country and all over the world, for that matter, to high-end luxury spas and to people just like you that are using them inside of their own homes. They're traveling with them. They're using them at the pool. It's so really just unbelievably cool to see and witness. And I'm so blessed to be a part of it. And I'm so blessed to have Lori actually sponsoring my podcast, which I think is really, really cool. So go check out Spa Star. I know you're going to love it. It is the coolest thing ever. And guys, this isn't just for ladies. This is one of the coolest gifts you could get any female in your life, for that matter. If Lori hadn't have created it, I would buy them for her as a gift to show her my love and appreciation. So dudes, if you're listening and you need to get a gift for your significant other or some special person in your life, go to spastar.net, grab a Get Ready wrap. There's all kinds of colors. There's black, there's sage, there's a berry color, there's a gosh, I just went blank. There's a kind of a greeny, kind of avocado-y color. Really cool. You're definitely going to love these, I promise. So go to spastar.net, check it out, support Lori. And Lori, thank you for sponsoring the show. All right, let's get to the action. I hope you guys enjoyed that show as much as I did. And I want to say from the bottom of my heart, I am so thankful and so grateful that you take the time to listen to the show every week, and it means the absolute world to me. If you've got a little bit of time, it would mean everything if you would go and give the show a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on, as well as share it with a friend or family member that you think might find value in the show. And again, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being an awesome human and listening to the Overweight Mind podcast. Thanks, and we'll see you again next week. All right, bye.